Oh, how many sections do you have? You should only have 4 done, right? Then.
Yeah, I have the notes, film, vocab, and formulas.
Journal. That's your 5th section. You got about 1 minute. No. I just see the other 2. The next thing I'm going to ask you to do is take a peek over at the person beside or behind you and make sure your answers are lining up. Have a quick chat before we share out. Quick chat about what you remember. Again, this is a brain dump. What do you remember?
Nothing. I guess so.
All right, let's chat. Let's chat. Make sure this paper I'm giving back goes in your folder. Test we just took.
How many points is this out of?
This is going to be out of 10.
That was high. Oh my god.
All right, guys. What is a function? What are your thoughts on what a function is?
Oh my god.
Sophia, what do you remember about a function? Speak up, babe. X and Y values. What else? Anybody else? Stringo, what do you remember about a function?
Y is usually equal to an equation involving x.
Okay. So I got x and y. I got an equation where y is equal to something. What else? That's it? That's all we remember? DeAndre?
I said usually has to have 1 point for every y value.
Okay. 1 point. So every x value has to have 1 output. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Right. How do we test that on a graph? Vertical line test. So all of these little notes that people have been giving, you should have been making sure you're keeping track of. The vertical line test lets me know if something is a function. I didn't hear anything, anybody say anything about inputs and outputs or anything, which is a bit shocking, but we're going to move on based on what you remember. That's what drives the lesson. So what I hear is what I have to take away and run with. So if a function is recognized by the vertical line test, then how do I recognize a one-to-one function? Yes. It is something about an inverse function. Good. What else? So it's something about inverse. What else? One-to-one function. What do we remember? What test tells me if something is a one-to-one function? Yeah. Horizontal line test. Okay, so we got 2 tests so far. One tells you whether something is a function. The other tells you whether something is a special kind of function, which is a one-to-one function. If it passes both the vertical and the horizontal line test, then it has an inverse. That's what you need to know. It has an inverse. So what I want you to do is, I want you to draw a sine graph somewhere on your paper. It doesn't have to be big, doesn't have to be half, it can be in the margin, it can be to the right, it doesn't matter. Just some version of a sine graph on your paper. 4 quadrants, and I'll draw mine on the back of the board. So if I draw a sine, it should look something like this. Draw a couple of periods, just keep going, and then extend it this way to let me know you know what's happening on that side. And then we're going to label it sine. Don't wait for me to draw sine. You should know how to draw sine. You should know exactly what sine looks like. Extend it just a little bit down. Good. I like the fact that Brianna is using her critical points. And now I need you to just label some of the points at the bottom so that we know where things are. Like this 0 here. I need to know what this point is. Right? Or this point. Or this point. What do I need to put like along here? Does anybody know what this 0 is?
Pi over 2.
Not quite.
I mean,
Because at pi over 2, sine is at the top, which means that it's 1. So it can't be pi over 2. Pi over 3 doesn't exist for sine. No. I'm hearing a lot of things called out. It's not 3 pi. It's not pi over 2. It's pi. When sine is 0, it's pi. And then it's 0 again at 2 pi. Again, these are the zeros of sine. You need to know them. There's no reason why we should still be bumbling over them. We just went over them. Pi, 2 pi. All right. Now, I want you on your graph, I want you to use the horizontal line, not the horizontal, vertical line test anywhere and tell me whether sine is a function. Vertical line test anywhere on your graph. Okay, it could be a dotted line, it could be a solid line, it could be of another color, I really don't care. But a vertical line test anywhere. Good. What does the vertical line test say? DeAndre?
If 2 points are on a vertical line, it's not functional.
Right. So how many times can it intercept the vertical line? Once. Circle that point and show me that it is a function. Good, I see it there. That's not a vertical line, that's a horizontal line. Vertical line test. Good, good. Is sine a function? Yes, it is. Okay? If I decide to go down like that, it intercepts just right here one time, it is a function. Now, horizontal line test. Anywhere on the graph, draw a horizontal line and tell me whether it passes that test. How many times does sine intercept or interact with the horizontal line?
4.
3, 4.
Oh, you talking about like the whole thing?
Infinitely many. Good. Both of you are correct. Infinitely many. Not just 3, not just 4, not just what's on your paper. It will continue to intercept over and over and over again. Does sine pass the horizontal line test? No, I only heard one person say that. Does sine pass the horizontal line test? No. So now our job, if you take a look back here with me, our job is to make sure that we make it past the horizontal line test. So I'm going to erase all of my tests, but you don't need to worry about that right now. Let's just focus on how we're going to do this. I'm going to erase all of my tests. And I want you to tell me, because it's a dry erase board, right? I want you to tell me, what do I need, what parts of the graph do I need to get rid of so that this graph passes the horizontal line test? What can I erase? The midline? I can't erase the axes. I can only erase parts of the graph. Right? Tell me. Mm-hmm.
You got it.
Where? Like, what am I going to erase from what to what? You know, this is pi, this is 2 pi. Where am I erasing?
Oh, I thought you could erase the pi.
No, so I can't change the numbers. The numbers are there. I need to change the domain somehow so that when I draw a horizontal line, it only goes through once. So if I draw my horizontal line here, and it intercepts here, it can't intercept over there. So at what parts of sine do I need to get rid of? After what point? Think about it. Pi over 2. So pi over 2 is where?
I mean, I'm talking about in between.
Right. So pi over 2 is where?
Right in the middle of the pi.
Right here. So right at my maximum, right? So he's saying erase all of sine after pi over 2. So basically, a part goes here. Right? So that if I draw a horizontal line, it's going to stop right here at pi over 2. But if I draw a horizontal line, of course it goes on forever. So where do I need to erase now in order to make this pass the horizontal line test? Come on. Negative pi over 2. Negative pi over 2, since this is negative pi over 2 is about right there, so I'm going to erase this part. Does it pass the horizontal line test now? Right? What I've done is called restricting the domain. And again, if you did any of the subword, this is not the first time that you heard that word. Should not be the first time you heard that word. Restricting the domain means to limit the domain in such a way where only certain parts of the graph is shown. So this is negative pi over 2. So now we got sine, but sine goes on forever and ever. We don't need it to go on forever. We just need the part that is going to pass both tests. So with that being said, I need a domain for sine to go from negative pi over 2 x to pi over 2. If I go from negative pi over 2 to pi over 2, it will pass the horizontal line test, it will pass the vertical line test, and then I can create an inverse. Now, we're going to do cosine. I'm going to release you a little bit and let you kind of do it on your own and see if you can figure out what the domain is. But the goal is not to figure out what the domain is. The goal is not to know when to cut the function off. The goal is to know what you need to do in order to have an inverse function. And what you need to do is restrict the domain. So you need to know what to do and why you're doing it, not necessarily how. Okay? So let's do cosine now. Somewhere else on your paper, you're going to draw cosine, which is slightly different, and you'll see the domain is going to be slightly different for an inverse function. So draw cosine. You can use a multitude of methods. Either you're using a pencil and you can erase part of the graph, or you're using a pen and you can kind of scribble out part of it, or you got colored markers and you can highlight the section that we want to focus on. It's up to you. So draw cosine, and remember cosine is slightly different because cosine starts here, goes down like that. I'm going to name this cosine x, and then you need to name some of the points. Where is pi? Where is 2 pi? And that type of thing. If you're using your critical points, it shouldn't be that hard. Oh, so you did cosine. This is cosine. is the x-axis. I'm sorry, the y-axis. Sine goes through 0. Cosine starts at 1. Gotta know the difference. So now tell me what am I erasing so that it passes the horizontal line test? Which section of the graph am I going to erase? And I could have easily used pi over 2 to 3 pi over 2, right? I could have used any part of the graph that only shows a section before it starts to repeat. It did not have to be negative pi over 2 to pi over 2. So if cosine is 1, 0, negative 1, 0, 1, then I got 1, 0, negative 1, 0, 1. So that tells me where my points are. 180, 270. So I know that this is pi, and this is 2 pi. And this is pi over 2, negative pi over 2. So, what am I getting rid of? Try me. Talk to me about what you're thinking. If I draw a horizontal line, what do I want to get rid of? What part first am I going to use? Okay, anything after 2 pi? Is that what you're saying? Okay. So he said erase anything after 2 pi, which I think is safe. But still, if I draw a horizontal line, I'm still intersecting at multiple points. What else can I get rid of? Not anything after 90? Right here? Okay.
No, before. Yeah.
So think about it. But it,
Would it be negative?
get rid of anything before 90?
No, before and
Okay, let me put it back so we can think, because you don't seem too sure. One second.
So we keep it.
We can try it. Listen, if we erase it and it doesn't work, we just put it back. It's okay. Before and after 90? If I erase what's before and what's after, I won't have it a graph yet. So what do you think? 90 is here. 180 is here.
So it's 0.
So 0.
Before 90?
Erase what's before
After
90?
0.
Erase what's after 0?
I mean, like, I don't know how to.
Before 0?
Okay. I'm gonna erase what's before 0. We'll start there. Alright. So basically my line is gonna look like this, right? So that should give you an idea. If I put the line here, great. If I put the line here, still 2. If I put the line here, still 2. So what else am I gonna erase? I erased everything before 0. After 90.
Or before 80. 180.
He said after 90. What do you think? Now this works. The horizontal line test works now. But then did I get the entire possibility, right? The entire curve.
No.
Where should I have erased?
Okay,
Before 180.
180, right? So this is what I should have. Right, this gives me a whole half a curve right before I start to repeat again. I want the point right before I start to repeat. So what's my domain for cosine?
0.
Pi. 0 to pi. So again, and we need to finish up quickly. Now, I don't want you to be able to do this yet. That's not what you're mastering. What you're mastering is why we're doing this and what does it mean for later. So, what do we do? What is this called?
Restricting the domain.
Restricting the domain. Why do we need to restrict the domain?
So
to find, no, to make sure it passes the vertical and, why does it need to pass that test? To make it a one-to-one function. We need to restrict the domain. Why? In order to pass the horizontal and vertical line test. Why? So that it will become one-to-one. Why do we need it to become one-to-one? That's the only way to make an inverse out of it. Okay? Now, there is no homework other than what was due from the sub. I'm looking for 3 things in your folder no later than Friday. The notes from that paper. Yeah. The notes from that paper. So if you can't turn them into your folder, you can show them to me after school and I will grade it that way. But the notes from this paper. Flexbook sheet 1 through 7, which I also have over here, and the textbook work 1 through 7. All over there.
It wasn't here when we got it.
Yes, it was. I put that on way before I left. Oh, here. Okay, well, the Flexbook papers are right here.
All students should be released in 4th period. It is 12:45. You have exactly 3 minutes. You have 3 minutes to make it to your 4th period class. As a reminder, as it is given each day, there should be 2 classes divided in 4th period. You should have 3 minutes to make it to 4th period class. 3 minutes. Thank you. All members of the leadership team will be out on all students are very quickly making it to their 4th period
We need the
class.
Flexbook papers right here.
And invite you to the side so that we may begin 4th period on time. Thank you.
When the second round ended, someone voted to kick him off. He didn't even get to finish the sentence, but he was about to answer. He was just okay. I'm like, he didn't finish the sentence. Everyone.
Have a good day, guys.
Thank you.
What'd you say?
Ouch.
What's this? Okay, the test, the 4 graphs, and then the inverse. Perfect. That should be in your folder. By Friday, I need all 3 of those in here. Okay? Do you have all of those?
Sorry, you got this?
Flexbook paper is right
No, I got
here.
that, I got that.
Okay. The notes paper, that was what I gave out.
Cause it's so. Yeah, I got that. We got
You got that. You need one.
I got it.
And then the textbook work, so you might want to open it. Perfect. Then you got everything. You up to date right now. Just make sure it's in your folder, and that way on the weekend when I check it, put it all in.
Okay. See you in 4:30.
See ya. See you, man. Have a good day. What?
Hi, Miss Forsythe. Hi. Welcome back. Thank you. Wait, where were you?
Funerals.
Oh, never mind. Welcome back to
Oh, I should put your drill up.
we came here, we didn't have a sub until like the last.
What? What you mean you didn't have a sub?
Until like the last 50 minutes of class.
Where was she?
Well, when I went to the bathroom, I saw her running around the hallway, and I think she was lost. And eventually somebody brought her here. It was like
What?
at least half of us.
Was it Miss Flint?
No, somebody I've never seen in my life.
Well, y'all already knew what to do. I'm sure y'all will find her.
Look at me want to be here ever again.
What? It was a terrible time. It makes you not want to be here.
I said Nick isn't going to be here ever again.
What do you mean? Why?
the same.
love.
Oh my what?
Cause what that girl do, girl, I can do it. Hold up, man. Oh, hold on, hold on.
What's like, what is this hairstyle? I see some blonde. Hello? Teaching it up.
Tina, that was a cool one. Can't see his face. Let me see. It's requested, so I'll be waiting. Taylor moved like a wood.
Don't do that.
Right, like you just said right there. She really trying to play.
Wait, who's out there? So you had Chinese food too?
I don't know what this is for real, but she doesn't
It
destroy
looks
the
like a
box.
watermelon. I mean, a pineapple or something. What the hell is it? It's fire. It is.
I'm really wild out here. Miss Bo's like, these people wild out here. They really mad at people.
I don't even know what you just said.
Oh, shit. Not bad.
Because, like, people just be coming.
Does anybody want this one? I can't eat it.
Me.
I'll take it.
What's that?
Wait.
Whoever gets to it first.
You said because it's broken.
Alright, well, I'm going for it.
Okay,
Gabby?
it's broken.
Gabby?
What the hell does that mean? Why?
Regina.
Ah, hey, you see.
She dyed your hair.
No, she didn't.
She was recording the whole time.
It was. Oh, stop.
It's recording.
Or Eric.
Alright, so this is the closest
I was talking about the other one. I was talking about the snap name. I mean, the
Alright,
Instagram
this
name.
is the closest I can get this. This graph
Oh,
asks
right.
you 2 questions. This one and this one. You do need to answer both of them. Don't worry about this one. So the graph, this one, this one. And
What time is
you're supposed to have a test today. I don't think I'm gonna give it to you.
What's that?
Yeah, I said that.
No, you didn't.
You doing?
Miss Boo said, no, you didn't.
You're not arguing with sports like this.
Absolutely
We were
did.
just talking about this.
What's up?
Yes, I did. I said it.
On what?
I said this unit is 1 day.
We're not arguing. What you said.
Well, then I'm gonna just give it.
Well, what?
No, you.
Wait, we didn't say go do your work. I got you.
So, all right, I'm gonna go on Friday anyway. What do you mean study
Did
guide?
you tell your hair? Is that an extension?
The study guide is right there. Where? Where? It's covered up, but it's right there. So I know how to go see
Every
it.
time I ask for
I told y'all it was there.
Every time I ask for something,
No, she knows me more than you.
she's still ignoring me. You talking about me? You talking about her ignoring me? She's ignoring me. I'm never talking again.
Oh, what happened to Jackson's filter job? Confused me. All right, 7 minutes.
Oh, come on.
Yeah. No, kale. You gotta get used to that flavor. Yeah, the kale is pretty good. First time I tasted it, I almost threw it up.
I have to eat the little. What you doing, girl?
Watermelon.
I don't know home.
Oh, goodness. Look at this. 6 minutes.
That's why I ain't even want to eat that burger. I'm sorry.
And you said which one?
What's that? You said 12? Look at the graph and do 12.
And, no, did I add the 12? You're not doing it all.
Oh.
The graph is right.
Alright, just station.
They tell them keep them on incubation. You're growing. You're not going.
That's probably all they keep in.
What is the life expectancy in here?
Right.
I
I can't see that. Miss Boo said, it's hard out here for a pimp. I feel you. Because we're talking about this word.
I can't even see the option.
Talk about
What is option A of number 1?
3, 4, 8, 10.
Thank you.
Oh, the label. Can I just write you on a separate sheet of
I'm
paper?
writing it on that.
Let me see.
That's
The ratio is the greatest.
You can put them on hold, okay?
What you say?
You can put them on hold. No.
you see how you
Layaway, like this Kmart, like come on now.
Oh, what is it called?
There is a class.
Did you see them?
Bruce gonna be taking you home.
And he'll have no problem with that.
Let's go there. Let's go. My dad took me to prom.
Who's on hold?
My dad took me to prom.
Why?
I can't find it.
They think you're so. You don't need Bruce there.
Oh no.
3 minutes.
This gonna be fun. My mama not coming.
You better not take him to prom.
I don't even think you can because I think the age limit is like
PTA.
23.
PTA.
He can come. I don't want Bruce at my prom. Which one are we supposed to do?
10 and 11. 9, 10, 12.
This one's like which one?
Diagonal. 10 and 11.
I don't think it's this one to the prom. I feel like
You could.
I was gonna say, yeah, I think he's in the age
Where
limit.
did you put up these little posters?
I didn't.
You did.
Who would?
Hey, who's on these? Because I'm confused on
Because I knew you
that.
weren't rewarding us with no trips.
Right, like what trip? So who's posters are these? It's Mr. Remus's.
Prize awards. I need him to give me a surprise award.
Is he?
I don't know
Isn't
what
he
trip
bald
you got
headed?
for them.
Isn't he bald?
Well,
He's nice. I like him.
I don't know what trip you got.
he's like what Mr. McSpade needs to be. Like he's extra. Mr. McSpade is extra in the wrong direction. He's extra,
Extra like the right way.
It's like I like you good. Okay, look. Don't talk to me about
Are
it.
you wearing those long, nice stretch coats?
So they're taking the prom.
Oh,
And 60 seconds.
You said we're not doing 12, right?
Right.
it's right here. It's so. It's
Girl.
coming back.
In a minute. What is the luckiest one in years? I'll be this week.
No. Go look at me, please.
Oh my God. 30 seconds. Wait, this was that one for number 11. Are we doing that based off the options in number 10 or based off the graph? Based off the graph, the labeled points.
Oh, come on.
Sorry, I'm a little sleepy.
When you post the Instagram story, can you tell who saw it?
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm about to start posting.
You can tell when the last person, what time the last person was on social media.
It's a little too much.
It'll say active this minute ago. And it's crazy. But Instagram, say you DM somebody and then you can check when last time they were active on Instagram.
Oh, then expose me because I be.
They're trying to like.
All right.
expose me. 10. 9. 9? Oh, I thought you were counting down.
Sorry,
Oh, you said all right, 10. Like, number 10. What,
3.
A.
And
Who said 4? Did anybody say 8? 10?
I said D.
Yeah, I said, oh wait. I said
10?
Whoa.
I'm confused. I said 10. Wait, there's a 10? Wait, which one is 10?
D is 10.
Oh, she's talking about the extra.
I'm good. I can't.
D is 10.
Wait,
Scale
where?
number 10. So it
Oh,
looks
no,
like
I
I only
said 8.
had.
Sorry, I said 8 for number 10.
Okay. It looks like I only had 3 and 4, correct?
Mhm.
Somebody said 3, somebody said 4. Okay, let's look at it. What is the longest gestation period?
60.
60.
Oh, I meant 3.
3, right.
Yeah, that looked like.
Yeah, I figured it was just a graph you were looking at. All right, 3 years, huh? I said, did anybody have? So the answer is A. So the next one, we're looking at ratios, and how do they want your ratio to be?
Life expectancy.
To gestation.
Right, so life expectancy is your numerator, and gestation is your denominator. Which one is greatest?
I said point B.
I said D.
Yeah, I said point B.
I also said
10 out of 51. So 10 out of 50 is about 20%.
Never mind.
10 out of 51.
Oh, now that I know how to do it.
Well, it's a ratio, guys.
Okay.
So you make it a fraction.
Yeah.
So it ain't D.
No. You know what?
Anybody to explain why it's the greatest?
Ratio of life expectancy.
A.
So 5.
The answer is A. 7
A.
over 23 is 0.3, 30%. Alright. So my next question is there a relationship between gestation period and life expectancy?
Well, what's gestation period?
No.
There
It
is
doesn't matter. Doesn't
No,
matter
there
to
is-
answer that question.
There is a weak positive. Perhaps. A very weak positive.
And what about the one at the end, right? That doesn't really go with the weak positive. That
An
one
outlier.
is.
Outline.
Okay, we can call it an outlier. So weak positive. And then you ask for gestation. Gestation is the incubation period. The time when you're growing, you're not born yet. That's what
Well, I mean, when you're premature, sometimes that can make the life expectancy right?
Yes, exactly. So what would you say is the relationship? Like, what's the statement that you would say?
For a weak positive relationship,
Well, for gestation and life expectancy.
The longer
longer you gestate,
gestation period,
longer life will be.
the greater the
life
expectancy.
Okay. Yes. All right.
Wait.
What is considered premature baby?
Anything before 30, I believe. Anything before 30 weeks. What did you say, Shayla? You had a question. Y'all talking at the same time?
Oh, I can't remember what it was because you're interrupting.
So 30. So what I need you to do right now is I need you to get the equation. Once you let me teach you how to do that. I need you to get the equation for the line. Right there in the book.
Give me one
You hit me one too.
I bring it to you. I mean, that you know how to do that.
Everybody need one?
Yeah, regression line.
You'll say smoothing
Every day.
What's the formula for that? Y equals AXSB?
Well, they'll show you exactly what they're talking
When they said it in the college, like
That's just point slope form, using a point and a slope.
this is gonna take me forever.
Yeah. Alright, I'm gonna do this one. We got some
That's
next.
Plus 712.
So you got 5 minutes.
It might take me 5 minutes to get these in here. Excuse me, Gabby.
What's his name? Why you got 2 names?
No. Oh, the one that's in there. Yeah, but
Gonna get some water.
I was about to say, where the fuck you get?
You might not need all of the points.
Wake up. It feels like wake up.
You put them in, but you only need the points. Right,
That's
so
what
30
I'm
is not even a point. And you put 30 in.
Damn, baby.
Ew. Cancel that.
Oh my god, I can't. Okay, so how is we supposed to plot like 31 and 32?
Yes,
15.
Plot the ones that are there. That's it.
We not see somebody have this forever.
Look, Gabby.
We just saying.
Is that a 30? Can that be a 32 or a 33? I'm glad
I'm
nobody
saying it's 33.
It's 23. Oh, wait.
I said 33.
That's a
Oh,
33.
You shut up.
I don't want to say 32 though. You say 51.
You tell me.
You hate me, Katina?
51.
That's what I do.
Katina, why do you hate here?
Yeah.
Oh.
Is that put 27 or 28?
What? I put
Well, the one after 25.
Oh, that is 50 days. I get that, but actually. Great, I gotta go back.
I'll put 28.
I put 27.
Niggas.
Did y'all put
Stop
251s?
cussing. This is recording.
251s, guys? Y'all put that?
Huh?
251s.
Yo,
What? I don't even think I can replicate. I don't even think I can replicate. It just slipped out. No, it didn't slip out. Did you hear it too?
What do you mean?
It didn't slip out. It tried to slip out, but it. Alright, then it's 45, 51. How will I ever be a lawyer?
Twice, right?
if you put your mind to it, you can do anything.
Oh my god, I'm about to cry.
That's right. I just did it. You're stuck.
6 and 10. So, oh, no, wait.
If you calm down, you're always doing the most.
32.
I'm
Oh,
cold.
y'all put 2 twice. Oh, you got the 2.
She's back.
Tom, y'all got questions?
Yeah, we will. You should read these numbers out.
Set the cookies up for the
What? X. 15,
2.
22, 25, 27.
Look, if it's a little, if it's 1 point off, you can
I like your hair, Miss Forsyth.
I do
31,
anyway.
I like it.
Wait, did you dye your hair too, or is it just?
Yeah, I died.
Oh, you did that?
No, I didn't dye it. No, that's not what you were asking, is it? No.
Or did you dye your real hair?
No.
You didn't dye your hair.
No.
What? That one look good though. It's a
44, 51, 51 twice.
That's what I was trying to say.
60.
Okay, so do we also put like 8 twice because it's 2 points?
Yep. Then you want to go up here, and you need to go in order though. You gotta go in order. So 2, then 7,
Oh my gosh.
then 2,
I put 28.
then 10.
Oh.
Sorry, that was me.
So you said 2,
7, 2, 10, and 6, then 4, then 8, then it doesn't matter. So you can do 8 or you can do 10.
you said 8 and 10.
Then 3. All right. Let's get the equation for this.
That
3
Let's figure out what the relationship is.
F.
What's R? Were you giving me R or the equation?
I'm gonna give you the equation.
I want both. I want R and the equation.
R is 0.295254. Look, 0.29 is close to 0.3,
So weak,
R.
Yeah, I got 0.3.
basically weak, right? Weak positive, like y'all
Right.
said. Hot. And what's the equation?
3.72.
Why you that?
Y equals 3.76 plus. I got 0.06.
I got that too.
Okay.
X.
Okay, I don't know where y'all are in because I don't want to get that out of here.
The equation is A plus BX. So just plug it in. A plus B.
All right.
Yeah, I got that.
So now we're going to start making some interpolation. Does anybody know what that is?
Inter. That means
Interpolation.
across.
It means what?
I know what inter means.
What does inter mean?
Inter is like across different, you know, like international, like inside.
Right, inside. So if I say international, I'm talking about inside of our nation, right? Inside. No? Outside?
International is different nations. That would be
Right. I don't know what I was saying.
Entering.
So international.
Polar is
Entering a different country.
when they're
Okay, enter in a different country. Either way, this means inside. So when I say interpolation, a polation is a prediction. We're going to make predictions
inside prediction.
inside the data. So if I make a prediction inside, I'm making a prediction for here, saying where would this point be, right? Extrapolation on the other side will be making a prediction outside the data, right? So interpolate. If the gestation period is 40, then what is the life expectancy?
Probably around 8.
So what I gotta do?
Between 6 and 8, something like that.
Okay, tell me how you got the answer. No. You need to use the equation to interpolate.
Oh,
How do you do that?
3.76.
Okay.
Oh.
I don't know how to get out of this.
From the equation.
I got R.
Use your
You
equation.
put on board for real.
Use your equation. Use your equation.
6.16 is what I got. Well, if you use, I use that.
I said 40, right? Okay, tell me what else you got, because people are using different equations, so.
My graduate like Karen.
You don't have to grab it.
Huh?
You're not supposed to grab it anyway.
Yeah, but if you look at the relevant spit, that will tell you what it will be at 40.
Here's the thing, is going too far. If we can go that far.
I got 6.06.
We'll just follow along. Yeah, but when
I feel like that'd be more helpful than this is not the time for it.
What's that?
yeah,
But I appreciate it.
yeah, but I don't know where we are at size. I don't know where we are. I don't know where we're going. So yeah.
Table with X, comma, Y.
Just going to find
Oh, yeah.
What else we got?
6.06.
Anything else?
Nope.
So we can conclude, or we can predict, that somebody has a gestation of 40 days will live 6 years.
Yep.
All right? What about our gestation? That's an extrapolation, right?
How long do we stay in the moon? What's the I mean, how many days are the month? So about 270. You stay in the moon for about 270 days.
270 days. Does everybody agree with that prediction? Because we're 40 weeks.
Oh.
I don't get
We're
I just
40
said
weeks.
9 months times 30 days.
Do 40 weeks. 40 weeks. So each week is week. 7. So 40 times 7 is. Sound like the same thing she said. All right, so 280 days.
like that.
And what is our life expectancy?
20.
I want the mathematical
I don't
answer.
think so.
So like 20 and a half.
I think I'm living longer than that. Yeah. How y'all get that?
Right.
Based on the equation, right?
You put in 280, right?
Yeah, 280.
You can get 21.6. I don't know.
What you do?
Put it in.
What you do?
I put 3.66 plus,
Okay, you found your error. Good. 20 days.
Okay, I got 18.
I'm sorry, 20 years.
I got 18.
yeah.
18 years. Same thing, right? 20 years. What's wrong with that? And that brings up a good point
That's
too.
young.
That's not right.
Everything cannot be measured mathematically.
Mm.
So be careful when you interpolate or extrapolate using an equation, because chances are the equation is not always going to give you the right answer. Let's think about this. If A, and you can tell me what the equation would be. Let me get something to erase. If a hot air balloon starts at 300 meters in the air, and then decreases 3 meters a minute, when does it hit the ground?
If a hot.
Okay, I'm gonna say it again.
What time?
If a hot air balloon starts at 300 meters in the air and decreases 3 meters per minute, what is the equation first of all?
300 minus 3m
Yep.
equals 0.
When does it hit the ground? And don't call your answer out. Just hang on to it for a second. I want to make sure everybody has an opportunity to think about what's happening. When?
What time?
So time.
You said meters per second.
Minute.
Oh.
An hour. So how many minutes is that? I want to know how many minutes.
100.
100 minutes.
An hour and 40
Okay. So 100 minutes, it will, 100 minutes, 0, right? It says 0. Now, I want you to put this equation